Hello everyone, it's Saturday, April 30th. Time to do our weekly chart reviews. So as per the last few weeks, I'm going to start with Forex first and jump into stocks after. I'm a little bit stuffed up, so if I don't sound my normal chipper self, and that's the reason. It's a little bit of a struggle to breathe through kind of half a nostril at this point, but I'll try to make it work. All right. I'm just going to do this up on the 4 hour. We pretty much know the majority of structure as far as Forex pairs are concerned. I had two trade ideas that were off of the Aud Cad, but the Canadian dollar has been very strong over the last week, and it broke through both of my trade ideas. So for now, it's kind of hitting another zone right here where we have uh, a style of a institutional candle right there, right? So where it's kind of pinging off at this point in time is right here, and I'll draw that line, the ray, but I'll make sure it's white. Okay, and as we can see, it's kind of bouncing off that area right now, right at that 50%. So I would caution an entry, making sure that EMAs flip first before it is taken. All right, and realistically, I mean, you don't need to go very deep as far as a stop loss goes. Probably at the bottom of this, so you can see, I mean, we give it an extra couple pips. I don't force, if it goes deeper, then, I mean, this trade is going to be invalid, but ultimately, I'd wait for the EMA switch anyway. Overall, this is still bullish. It's just been pulling back over the last several weeks, going down over the last several weeks because the Canadian currency has lots of interest that was brought up by the Royal Bank of Canada, right? The RR version of the Fed up here. So what's going to happen is when that kind of tapers off, it'll continue its climb, right? AUD isn't going to be increasing its rates like we had a lot of movement over the first 3 months of the year. Now we're doing a bit of a pullback. But if you take a look at a fib retracement where we go from our low to our high right here, you can see that it just kind of crosses 618, and now it's struggling to go a little bit deeper, right? So that's why I would say if it comes here, just wait for an EMA switch of the red and yellow. Ideally on the 1 hour, but it seems that on the 1 hour it's been kind of messing about a little bit, right? So there's a switch and then it switches right back down. So I would say if it switches on the 1 hour, confirm it with a switch on the 4 hour just a bit later on, right? So that might be a little bit unfortunate because that could happen very late, and you could miss out on a significant amount of pips. However, 1 hour seems to be a little bit choppy. If you want to split the difference, maybe do it on the 2 or the 3. That might be very beneficial as well. Getting it a little bit sooner before a 4 hour switch occurs. Either way, as far as take profit, I would just bring it up to the blue right here. I have a feeling that this is just going to do a bit of a pullback before dropping further. All right. Maybe not even that high. I would probably go maybe first TP here. So we'd be looking at maybe 140 pip gain. Ideally, maybe a little bit less just right here where we have that wick, because here we whipped several times. So it's showing a bit of a supply zone, right? So worst case scenario, you leave there with about 110 pips. Best case, I would say 240. Could be even better, right? But for the time being, I would just play it safe with those two checkpoints. The first one being right here at about 110, the second one right there at that 50% line, and then finally at that blue. All right. Aud Chf, it's within the trade. It's looking pretty good. It had a bit of a pullback throughout the week, but it's starting to continue back on down. So very, very nice entry right there. It went inside the stop loss area about 35 pips, so pretty close to triggering, but it was still 15 pips away. And now it's sitting at 170 pips in profit. So so far 3-to-1 win ratio, just a little bit over, very good. Let's see how much further it's going to go. Aud Jpy, same kind of idea. There was the zones that it was really battling against. It kind of crossed through here and right back down. So this is going to be showing very strong momentum downwards. I would say kind of as market opens, because you could see that the EMA switch just happened on yellow and red right here, and they both crossed the pink. So this is actually a very good sign for wanting to continue downwards. Potential trade idea, 118 pips is going to be extremely high. I would just do it to the end of that candle, 45 pips, and potential take profit. This could drop quite a ways. It really did a number on JPY climb, but the yen is not going to be increasing interest rates at all. They're one of the few governments that are actually going to mitigate inflation as much as possible. So for this one, I would say first take profit would be around 218. So that would be 4.75 to 1 ratio. But I would say probably around down here where we first started seeing a little bit of consolidation would be the ultimate take profit of about 655. So that's like a 14 to 1 risk to reward. Pretty decent. And I'll mark that up. Aud Ncd, had a bit of a trade idea coming here, but like I was saying before, don't really jump into trades unless the EMA switch on the 1 hour. Sure enough, that would have happened. Pardon me. That would have happened right about this area. Unfortunately, the markers are in the way, so I'll just show right there. EMA switch happened kind of at the end of this candle, so that's actually a pretty good sign. It switched right at the entry and kind of hovered around, worst case, got negative 16.5 out of 25 pip stop loss that, was predicted, kind of hit off entry once again, and at best it was 121 pips in profit, currently at 79. So, trade idea is almost done anyway. Like I expected it to go maybe 120, but it went slightly less, right? Let's just double check what that was. I estimated 130, it went to 120, so pretty close. All right, I would say that this is pretty much done. If still in it, then try to get out. Right, so that it would have been right there. That's the entry. That's the win. 5 to 1 on this, and very quick. Just happened in a couple of days. So very good. So that one's done. Aud Usd. Again, predicting that it was going to start going up, but US dollar really kind of cranked everybody a new one over the last few days. So I would say not optimal entry right now to take this, so I'm going to delete that, but this is beautiful. Like this hit TP, it was fantastic. What a way to go over the last 2 weeks. 19 to 1 risk to reward ratio. That's just bananas. What a beautiful tiny wick right here, and that's as deep as it went in reverse. This is one of the better plays of the year so far. 358 pip win, 19 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Show me someone who's done better. Very good. Bitcoin, I'm a little bit concerned about Bitcoin because it's, it just, like the wick kind of broke through that line that I was expecting it to go. The second area that I'm expecting is if it goes through that aqua. Oh, pardon me. If it goes through the aqua, then I see this drop continuing a little bit further down, unfortunately. To be honest, though, from what I've been seeing, this has been steadily climbing. Like it has been making slightly lower lows, but it hasn't beaten these ones yet, right? So I would say as far as any contention areas, it will be there and right there, okay? That would kind of line up with where the aqua is right now. So if it kind of hits these areas but doesn't go any lower, very good sign. If it breaks through these, then concerning that Bitcoin will drop even further down. But again, the way that it's been trending since January, it doesn't show that it wants to continue down. It was trending up for a little bit, and then pullback happened over the last month. So again, this week is really going to be the telltale time as to when everything is going to be resolved. Right, so we'll see in the next few days whether or not Bitcoin wants to climb or if it wants to drop. And yeah, I would say around that anywhere from 37,260 to 36,800. Like if it drops below that 36,800, it's probably going lower. All right. Cad Chf, this one I whiffed, unfortunately. Predicted that it was going to go down. It completely went up. The Canadian dollar kind of crushed everything. So, yeah, too bad. But I'll delete that trade idea, so that's done. And like I'd say, right, if you took it on an EMA switch, yeah, this one would have hit a stop loss. So whatever that would have been, I think it was like 20 or 30 pips. So you know what, though, as far as the last month goes, all of April in total, for like the peaks that we've hit, there was a potential, I think it was 2,200 pips to grab in the entire month at maximum. And during exits, I calculated about 1,700. So, I mean, there's a plus minus 500 pip right there range of being able to get out right at the peaks. But if you got out at a reasonable point during those climbs, then still 1,700 pips over the course of a month is still very good. And traded, I think, 5 or 6 currency pairs. So yeah, I mean that's and it's not necessarily just the pips, right? It's the risk to reward ratio. It all depends on what your stop loss was, how deep it went, because you can have 1,000 pip run, but if you had a 200 pip stop loss, it's only on 5 to 1, right? But you saw that 19 to 1 that we had on what was it, AUD USD? That was gorgeous, right? Like nothing could be better than that right now for the month so far. 19 pip stop loss. Like I said, show me better. All right, Cad Jpy. So this actually is kind of working out the way I saw prior. Where did we draw it up? It's on the 4 hour, so we did have that rejection just before last weekend, right? And we have pulled back, but we're not coming back that high. So this is a very good sign that it wants to drop a little bit lower. Like as we've seen CAD being overbought over the last little while, especially compared to other currency pairs. So JPY is fighting back a little bit. But very good sign to take it on an EMA switch. You saw the switch happening here. This is kind of a classic M pattern, right? Where it goes up and then it made a lower peak, and now we're going to see a drop. Okay, so very likely, let's say something reasonable, even if we take it right here at open, right? The size that I would go, probably, hard to say, probably 60 pips would be reasonable for this. I don't see it popping up that high, but again, just confirm that EMA switch to happen on the smaller time frame, right? So we do have the switch happening right there. Now they're both crossing the pink. It's a very good sign, but the white is still kind of angled upwards. So when it's all pointing down on the 1 hour, that's a very good sign that this is a very valid take-in as far as a trade. And potential target probably down here, right? So it has a way to go, but that's 11.5 to 1 risk to reward, even at a 60 pip stop loss, right? So pretty decent. Yeah, so I'll mark that one up. That's going to be very good. Chf Jpy. Oh man, my nose is really plugged up. So this one, I mean, I just drew a fib channel. It's had quite a large consolidation range. I'm gonna stay out of this one. It seems a little bit too messy for me right now. Like it is showing some resistance and support between the Fibonacci channel lines, but nothing really to brag about. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that one alone. Ethereum USD broken through that purple line as we've had it on the Fibonacci as well. But again, the good side is we're not making newer lows. We're just slowly trending down. We'll see what we kind of break, right? Right now, that black line is going to be a very strong indicator as to how deep we want to see Ethereum pull back. If it drops below that, then we're going to have some issues. Euro AUD, very nice pullback right off the bottom of there at the beginning of the month. It's starting to climb. And as we see right here, just where it formed that new low to the new high, and the pullback, it was between the 786 and the 618, so that's another great sign that it's rejecting and going higher. EMA switch just happened as well on the 4 hour. 1 hour, it's been climbing steadily, so good opportunity to take an entry on that. I'll leave the discretion up to you. I'm not going to draw up a map on this one. Still valid, but maybe I'll do that one privately. Eurocad, this has been very nice. Right, this went up kind of almost exactly as predicted. Did it hit the stop loss just right? But like I was saying, EMA switches, right? So ideally, the entry would have been right there, right at the top of the candle, and maybe stop loss down to the black. So far, that's a 54 pip stop loss, and the climb, I would say right there, that's a 5.7 to a 1 ratio. Very good, very strong potential for that to hit within the next couple of days, right? Eurocad has Euro's been reversing pretty strongly. Like right now, we are at 85 pips in profit, so that's like 1.5 almost to 1 ratio right now. Not the worst thing in the world, but even bringing up your stop loss to break even at this point wouldn't be such a bad idea. Euro CHF, it hit TP, but it kind of, well, it did hit TP, but it really went for a run originally, and it kind of hit the entry zone and started to go again. So that's a really good sign. You see wherever it hit the entry zone, it was lower than the previous, right? So originally our max would have been about 270. If you saw the EMA switch, you could have gone down with about 200 pips, a nice gain there. So that would have been, let's see, if we had the EMA switch, that would have been around 5.6 to 1, still very good. Best case scenario would have been 7.6 to 1. I still believe that this is going to drop a little bit further based on the high that it made there, right? So let's take a look when it's a fib retracement, how deep it went. Pulled back almost to the starting line, right? But it kind of wicked off the 886. So that's a pretty decent sign, very deep retracement. But let's see this reversal, right? So it popped up, and you can see it bounced off the 618. So it's a very good chance that this is pretty much done, right? Like we had one opportunity for an entry, another one, now it's starting to go back up again. Euro should not be strong though. The Swiss franc is it's overall neutral, but the euro is weak. So again, use at your discretion, right? It bounced off the 618. I would kind of predict that this is over, but honestly, I'm going to see how it runs. I'm just curious. Maybe I'm going to be right overall, drops all the way back down here. I don't see that happening, but hey, you know what? 2 good entries off the exact same zone. I mean, can't really complain about that. Euro GBP. No, I don't really see anything exciting to take. It's ranging quite strongly. It goes up and down within the day, quite strong. But even if we just do a tiny fib channel from 1 point rate, let's click on it, from point to point, and then the lowest part in between them would be here, right? Pretty good situation as well to understand that if it goes a little bit lower, starts pulling back. We'd be looking for an entry, maybe best case scenario off the aqua going back down. It kind of seems that's the direction it wants to take. But here's the thing, it's making higher lows and lower highs, right? So it's very rangy, and it's not going much higher or lower at this point. So not something I'd want to be jumping it on. Euro Jpy. Nice climb, but again, it did hit that 700 TP. The best it did was 420. 16.7 to 1 is fantastic. Even if you weren't able to snag everything, wait for an EMA switch, that's still 290 pips, so 11 to 1 ratio, very good, right? Best case scenario, yeah, so 428, that would have been a nice snag. But yeah, it kind of tested that zone. I believe this is going to be dropping lower. As you see, this previous support resistance that we had, it kind of broke through, it came back down, and now it's acting as a resistance zone once again. So if the EMA switch holds up right here, I would say that this is a pretty solid entry to take. Since it's been wicking around that area, I'd probably wait for it to pull back a slightly higher. It'd make me a little nervous. But if there's an EMA switch on the 4-hour, then chances are for it to continue down are very good. Right on the 1-hour, it was already there. So entry. Let's say if we take it right there, what's the best part? Take it on that, probably at the top of that wick. So we're looking at about a 44 pip stop loss. And let's see what that looks like on the 4-hour. Right? Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. If it kind of comes above that wick, it's kind of telling that this is going to range a little bit. But the way that when you had a peak here and kind of hovered around there several times and then just sharply dropped, this is a good sign that it's going to continue down. So I would say, yeah, best case scenario, 376 pips to snag. We'll see how that goes. Let's mark that up as a good potential trade. Euro Ncd. Nope, I don't want to trade that one. Euro USD, that small little win right there, 6-1, pretty decent. It dropped harder than I expected. I don't really have an end in sight. Let's do a quick analysis. That was the lowest that it went. I'm going to switch to the daily. And where does it kind of hit off right now? Where is that zone previously? So right now, the lowest that it's been is 2016. That's kind of the area that we're hitting there. But as you see, it kind of went below that and right back up. So yeah, I mean, I think, see, wick off right there in the same area. So it looks like this is as low as we've seen it in decades. Yeah, look at that. Not until we get back to 2003 that we were in that zone. You could tell these candles are really kind of choppy. They don't even have any wicks. So this was just very straightforward moves. And yeah, 2002 is the furthest back that we have the info. Hasn't been around that zone, like under that zone, for a longer period of time since January of 2003. So 20 years almost. It's been above that area. What's the chances that it's going to be below it now? Rare. So yeah, I mean, again, EMA shift, very good potential here to have. The shift will probably be somewhere around there. Let's say TP. What's the best gain to grab? 94 pips is a little bit large, right? But realistically speaking, if the US dollar continues its very high in what do I want to say? Very high interest rates, then we're going to see this drop even further. But if, let's say, if everything's on track, then we could have a very good potential climb. As you can see, we kind of wicked off that area. We made slightly higher high before. It's a good possibility that we'll come back to that area. Let's be a little conservative, right? Go 862. And as far as a stop loss, right? Like, as you can see, it's not like it has huge candles. I mean, I could stretch it out, right? But realistically, these candles are not gigantic. They don't have ridiculous wicks, right? Like this one does, but realistically, right after, the candle kind of caught up, right? So the way that it's going right now, I would say maybe stop loss would be reasonable at the bottom of this candle. So you know what? I'm going to pop it in right there, and we're going to see how it goes. I'm not taking an entry unless I have the EMA switch, right? So it's almost there, but not quite. So yeah, 15-to-1 ratio, it's decent, but it's going to take a while to hit because it's a very large stop loss and slow moving pair. I'm going to click that. Gbp Aud, man, this was a monster. Look at this. First entry right here. I mean, deep pullback, but almost hit TP the first time, right? Look at that. 417 pip. Right? And then, yeah, very sharp pullback, so that would have sucked. But, if you could have snagged that 300 pips, if you had those two big parallel candles, that's usually a sign for me, hey, bounce. This could be done. And yeah, sure enough, it dropped right back to entry. And look, now it's 333 pips in profit again. So you could have got out with 300 pips the first time, and now it's over 300 pips again. Like, that's crazy. What a fantastic entry. I know I like to say the rule of the EMA switch, but this was kind of a hard line prior. You know, it crossed it before it did retouch, and then yeah, this is a fantastic trade. I really want to see how further down it goes, but in one day, you know, in one day we had 29th. So right here, da, 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 kind of at the end of that candle, we had a total of 321 pips in one day that it went up. So super significant. Very nice right there. Gbp Cad. You see, I expected it to go up there, and it sort of did, but right back down, right through that consolidation zone. Let's draw a horizontal line right on the bottom and put it on the daily, and we'll see what's bouncing off of. Right here, back in 2019. What's the significance? You know, let's do replay. Click it right there. Switch to a 4-hour. What are the candles telling us? Oh, look at that. Right there that it wicked off. So that's like a double morning star, right? Like two dojis almost right beside each other. And then it popped up, and then it kind of rejected off this candle's 50%. So now that it's at its lowest point, this is the point where it pulled back to. Let's see if we can get more information on a smaller time frame. No, probably not. It just looks like a trend reversal. 6-hour? Nope. Yeah, so either way, that's the low that we had. I'll close that off. Yep, and switch it back to the daily. But what a nice rejection. Like Gbp Cad, way to go. Right there. And then, so yeah, we were at last in the area 2019. And then, oh look, same sort of thing, right? Just the candle closed and open crossed it right away in 2017, so 2 years before that. Another one in 2017. Look at that, just bananas, right? Look at this crazy wick, but I mean, that's just nutty. Look at this thing go, right, within one day. Like, hey, if you were smart enough to get 1,100 pips, you know, within that wick, good on you. That would have been fantastic. Let's see what else we got right here. Oh, and so the last time it was below that area significantly was before 2013. So, I mean, yeah, good chance that it's going to reject off this line like it has over the last 10 years, right? And as you see over this candle right now on the daily, that's definitely what happened. EMA switched on the 4-hour already. On the 1-hour, it's switched already down here and formed a little bit of a DeLorean. So if entry was taken, I would say, you know, potentially wait for a pullback, could pull back anywhere to the red or the pink EMA. I really doubt it's going to go as deep as that. So, you know, 50 pip stop loss still reasonable, and for it to kind of hit the first area right there. So 471 pip potential. Let's see if it drops down and goes back up. All right. So I'll mark that one up. Gbp Chf. So unfortunately, this guy, beautiful climb at the beginning right here. You know, when I marked it up several weeks ago, look at this go, right? 300 pips. When it switched, 260 would have been a nice cash out. You know, it would have been hard to tell because it consolidated for quite a bit of time, and then it went up and it went sideways, went up and sideways. So kind of like did a fake out, right? So if I'd see this big red candle, I'd be like, ah, you know what? Maybe it's going to be doing something like this. But then I see another one, I'm like, ah, probably done, right? So I would have missed out on 100 pips there. No, not the worst thing in the world. It's still a 7.5 to 1 win. So yeah, 7.5 or 7. And yeah, kind of hit entry zone again. Broke through it this time though. So let's say if we did a 40 pip stop loss originally, it'd be safe. But 30 pips for the first run was great. I mean, it was 300 in profit. Now if we went on an EMA switch and it went up, you'd be looking at 120 in profit. So decent. You know, not really going to be watching this one. I mean, the run is pretty much over. Right there is what I would say would have been a nice TP. So yeah, you know, I'll drop this down. That was a good winner. And yeah, that's kind of where I'll leave it. So 10 to 1, you know, good ratio. Gbp Jpy dropped it, but then reversed hard. Oh, pardon me, reversed hard, and we saw GBP kind of do that all the around every currency pair. Where's it going now? Let's see. You know, we'll draw that horizontal line and then switch on the daily, and we'll see when it's been that high last. Not too long ago. It looks like 2016. Too long ago. It's 6 years ago, right? But it's been high. It's been about that high for about 3 years before being much lower. So, you know, we could definitely see it go even further up, right? Like this is the high right now that I drew up, and you could see that right there, support, 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 you know, kind of support, but then it broke through finally, and then it formed a new support and resistance. You know, right here, area of liquidity, then it dropped lower, kind of retested that area, and then tanked, right? So, yeah, it's hard to say. Like this could definitely climb further, judging by, you know what? Let's draw one of my favorite tools. Then we'll see where it's going, right? We'll do from here to, yeah, that's a reasonable point right there, and then the highest in between them is that one. Let's see what we see. Yeah, it kind of dipped a little bit, but you can see that it's been resisting that zone. Let's see where we can kind of draw it back further from. Let's do a weekly time frame. This will be fun. Hey, here we go. Let's try this guy right here. From here to here, and the high in between was there. How valid is that now? Not so much, really. I mean, it dipped low significantly a few times. But, you know what, maybe on the highs, that would be a better way to see that when it was dropping. Yeah, it's really kind of, if you can't draw the channel, don't draw the channel. Like, don't force something that's not there. Currently, though, I would say, you know, I'd like to do it from here to here, but I like to do it on the wicks, right? Because otherwise, it's kind of cheating, right? If I do a wick to body or something like that, right? Although it would make sense, right? Like, look how beautifully that kind of fits on the weekly time frame, right? The daily, you can kind of see the same example. But yeah, that dipped pretty hard on the daily, but look, rejection and then consolidation, right? Every zone that it hits, it kind of consolidates or has support and resistance on it. Yeah, so that's not too bad actually. Like right there, kind of crossed the purple, went right back down. Yeah, I don't like drawing it unless they're at the exact point, so we'll get rid of that. This is not a trade idea I'd be looking to grab. Gbp Ncd. Yeah, I mean we're on the daily, okay. So yeah, it's been rangy, but it's been going up, right? Like we saw the rejection over there. It did cross it like it did over here, but it went right back up. You know, potentially this is one of those that could go all the way from one zone to the other zone, right? So it has a 1600 pip potential climb. I'm going to leave it alone, though, only because it's like you could see how much it spikes on the one day. Like it would have to be a very large stop loss to take. I'm not really too comfortable grabbing that, and especially because it dipped lower than its previous low. I'm going to leave that one alone. Gbp USD, tiny little, you know, 145 pip right there for a 3 to 1, 3.5 to 1 gain. It dropped through the structure, so that's invalid. And yeah, so where's the low now? It's right there. What is it hitting off of? Just kind of consolidation area. Guaranteed it's you know, point of control somewhere in there. Yeah, exactly on the horizontal line. What a shocker. All right, so very good mark for it to go. Like we just bounced off it, they're going up. You know, again, potential depending on what the interest rate on the US dollar is going to be. Short term, it could be a little bit bearish, so we could see US dollar weaken maybe for a couple of weeks. But then it'll pick up some strength, I would say, maybe early June or late May. All right, Usd Cad. Just dropped further and not a pair I like. Ncd Chf kind of broke through structure on the last day. Too bad. Ncd Jpy. Yeah, I thought it was going to go lower a little bit sooner, but it had to climb just a little bit more, right? But as you can see, it's still very rangy, like big ups, big downs. So formed a DeLorean on the close though. That's a very good sign, right? So if folks know what that is, that's a very good sign for the next candle to open and stay and close red, right? So you know what? That's quite the way to end off the pair. Even just by seeing that, I'm like, hey, you know what? Sure, short position. Yeah, we'd have to do it on let's see what the 4 hour looks like. It's switched, entry right there. What's the highest that we'd want to go is there. It's 131 pips, guys. Like, that's a little bit bananas. Let's try on the 1 hour, what we see there. Potential to go back up to that. So, I mean, I would hold off a little bit. Maybe aim for an entry, like if it kind of hits the red and rejects off it, and then shrink down that one maybe to there, kind of where all the EMAs are crossing. So that kind of gives us, what does that look like now? A 42 pip stop loss, a little bit more reasonable. And I could see that dropping to kind of the point of control. I guarantee you it's right here in this range, right? Like I'll do this entire thing just to kind of see where it's at. Oh my gosh, what a shocker. Right, so right there, maybe as deep as it would go. Still good, 17-1. Let's see. NZD USD, yeah, that's just USD. Like I said, was killing it. This one did really pull back though, because both currencies raised interest rates. So yeah, as far as a fib channel, I think we could do it from here to here. That would be pretty solid. And then the biggest low is there. Let's see what we see. Holy cow, bouncing off that purple. Not bad. If it actually reverses, that's a good sign that we might see, potential pullback anywhere to these yellows. But not a trade idea I'm willing to take right now. USD Cad, beautiful gain right there, 287 pip profit, 14.5 to 1 risk to reward. Which time frame? I said 1 hour EMA shift. Right, so 1 hour EMA shift would have been down here early, and then right at that candle close, that would have been super tight, holy, right? And then the potential climb, I think I left it somewhere there, so let's just continue with that. But yeah, 19 pip stop loss, 20 pip stop loss, really tight. If I'd see these candles, I'd probably put it just slightly below them, just for comfort. So I would be a 9.5 to 1 risk to reward. So still very good climb there, and it's not done yet, right? It had a pullback and it's going, kind of rejected off that 233 EMA. Good stuff. All right, USD Chf. It's slowly been going up this entire time. It's not really for me to take an entry on this. Don't really see any openings. USD Jpy, like I said, pullback, but I don't think this is going to be lasting a whole lot of time. We could see this giant imbalance candle. This is kind of where it's headed. Let's take a look at that 50% where it's sitting. Right, so very close. I think it just kind of wicked off around that area. Now it's going to start going back up. So good one to watch. A potential entry once the EMA switch once again. Don't know how high that's going to go because it's kind of heading up into new territory. Silver. Silver is a bit of a bummer. I expected some cleaner moves just because of the fib channel that I drew up on another chart where I went from here to here and then the high, boom, right? I'm like, oh, what a beautiful entry this is, right? So it got snagged and then up just came super close, but it did not actually switch. So that's a bummer, right? And then tested the zone, broke right through it. So yeah, silver potentially could be going lower or potentially could be reversing first thing Monday morning. We'll see. But that's where I was hoping it would go. It could go even as deep as to here. This looks like a pretty strong institutional play. If we go 50%er, right, and then draw the white ray, boom. Yeah, that could potentially be where it goes off before it rises. So yeah. Gold, not really interested, but as you see, it kind of broke through structure too. Oil. Oil's been creating a pendant, or a door stopper, if you will. Okay. Let's see. Maybe right here, the channel to this one almost looks like it's going to be a proper retracement, right? But as you can see, these are the zones where it's been hanging out most often, right? It's heading, the white line seems to be the support and resistance in the short term. So yeah, hard to say where this will go. Like, we all expect oil to increase in price, but it's kind of been flopping around, you know, that anywhere between 92.5 or 93 to 114, right? Like lately it's been 108, like 109 is the highest it's been since end of March. So for a month it's been ranging within about a $10 range here, right? So anywhere like that. That's kind of been our range right now, which is at maximum $16. $16 a barrel fluctuation. All right. Nasdaq. What do we see here? Nasdaq has been scaring me. I don't like you, Nasdaq. You know, I projected that this would have been the move upwards because it kind of bounced off that line before. But honestly, I've like now seeing how the move happened and where the close is. So just a little bit of background. This thin little red line here is a volume POC from, was it December 2021 to May 2022? No, 2020 to 2021. So December 2020 to May 2021. That's what that signifies. And that was a point of control. And that actually just got closed off a couple of days ago where we had a gap, right? So now it's, like I could zoom in, but I already did the calculation here. It closed off 5 pips below that line. Like it really, when the stock market actually closed is where I drew the red line. But after hours, it pulled back higher right to that point of control. So for me, that's a very good sign of rejection. It doesn't seem to want to drop lower than that. That's going to be our telltale sign, right? So we dropped before it on a close, and then we opened and went right above it. So great sign that we do not want to go past here. I'm hopeful because if we drop, it's going to be a very hard, painful drop coming early next week. Or this week even. So Monday is going to be very telling depending on where that candle closes. If it closes below this thin red line, we're going down. If it closes above that thin red line on Monday, very good chance this is going to reverse and reverse hard. All right, so that is what you need to keep an eye on. Very, very important right here. Whatever happens, that's going to determine if stocks go up or if the market bleeds further. All right, US 30, same sort of thing, but look at that. It just closed that gap from all the way back in March. And now it doesn't really have anywhere else to go. Right now it's all about taking that climb up. It's going to be a nice move. I don't see it dropping any further down. And again, we could be seeing different stuff, but I believe that the interest rate increase has already been priced in. So if we go from here to the high, right, that high, we see that it just wicked off the 786. Very good sign when Fibonacci's are in play. All right, so it wicked off, it closed that gap, and I believe that on Monday, if the Nas doesn't rise, I believe that the Dow Jones at least will. There's no reason for this to go any lower. it's been forming a higher structure compared to the Nasdaq, right? So if we compare them, we could see the Nasdaq slightly going lower as the month progressed, whereas the Dow Jones, the US 30, has been slightly going up. So kind of opposite, but they're still kind of ranging in the same area. So yeah, I predict that, and yeah, 800-point drop in one day. That is super painful. I really hate it, but what can you do? Right? When there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy, as Mr. Rothschild said once. Not a huge fan of him, but hey, you know what? He was right. So ultimately, if you don't know where to grab any positions, the smartest thing is talk to your financial advisor. And I'll be straightforward. My financial advisors have always said, hey, you know what? Always have a steady income flow going into stocks, regardless if it's up or down. Then you're bound to win overall, right? You don't just pop your money into the market and sit on it and wait and hope for the best, right? Because imagine getting in right here, and now you're going to be waiting months and months and months for it to even come back. But as it's going down, you're slowly adding every single week to your positions. What's the average? Let's say you had $10,000 and you added at the peak and you added at the bottom, right? So every week you add 2 grand, right, to make it 10 grand overall. That means your position average is somewhere around there. So it's about halfway, right? Rather than everything being at the top. That means that everything only needs to climb half the amount in order for you to break even, right? Anyway, those lessons for another day. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Pardon the stuffy nose, but thanks for pushing forward and listening to the entire spiel. I hope the Forex has been quite lightning over the last couple of weeks that I've been doing this. As you see, no one else is kind of giving you predictions and massive pip gains. They'll be like, hey, get these free signals, and the free signals give you 20 to 30 pips. Woo! Little spinny top and make your, spin around your noisemaker. Woohoo! I've given you nearly 2,000 pips in 1 month, and it's all free. I don't want a dime. I don't care about profiting off you guys. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And if you want more, just subscribe and like the videos, and stay tuned next week. So thank you very much, and see you then.